All right, CNT120, we're working on our Chap1Lab. We have just finished layer 1, so we're going to move on to layer 2. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to take a second and I'm going to save. I'm going to do a file, save as on my packet tracer file. And in this same folder, I'm going to call this, done or something like that. That way I know, or maybe maybe this is my working lab that I'm working on. So now I have the original file plus I have this working one. So if something were to happen odd, you could always just relaunch the original file and kind of redo. It goes so much quicker the second time through. So if something like that happens, you can do that. So I always keep one that I'm working on plus the original. So this is now my working file. All right, now that I did that, I didn't write that in the directions. That's just a handy tip for you. We're now going to work on layer 2. Well, layer 2, if you remember, is our network card, things like our MAC address, things like switches in our network. So we are going to start off by making sure we have a NIC installed in the computer, get it in the network and functioning, and then we're going to look at its MAC address. So on the Harrisburg side of the network, we have this PC over here. Okay, and I think I have you go to, physical tab. I thought I was going to go to the physical tab. So we're going to go here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to try to cable this PC into the outlet just like I did the laptop here. So I'm going to do my straight cable here, straight through cable here. I'm going to try to click on the PC, and you'll notice there's only USB ports and RS-232. That's your serial port. There is no network port here. So I'm going to use the escape key. I'm like, all right, well, let me try this again real quick. I'll click on the jack over here and I'll try to connect onto the PC. And again, there is no network port. So I'm going to use the escape key. That'll get rid of. All right, so I need to look at the actual PC itself. So I'm going to click on the Harrisburg PC and I'm going to click on its physical tab. So I'm going to click on the Harrisburg PC. This brings up a view of the front, if you will. Let me make this a little bit larger here. And I'm going to click on the physical tab, that guy right there, and I'm going to scroll down and I'll see down here we're missing a network port. We're missing a network slot, if you will. So I'm going to shut the power off on this guy, and then I'm going to grab from the, oops, I think I scrolled down there too far. There we go. We're going to grab the network card here, one copper fast Ethernet, one port copper fast Ethernet NIC. So we'll go down through here, and we'll do one copper fast Ethernet, and we will just click on that. You'll see it show up down here, and I can either click and drag this way onto my PC, or I can click and drag this way. And I'm going to click and drag this into the slot that's right here. And now I just installed the network card, and I'll turn the computer back on. Okay, that is just installing the NIC in our computer. Now, if you have any issues with the click and drag, make sure you've saved your file like I did, kind of resave it. If you're still having issues, maybe make sure this is on like the desktop of your computer, or if the file was on the desktop of your computer, put it in a folder like I had you do. That sometimes is a permissions issue. Relaunch the file, come back to here, and then try to click and drag in. So if you have some click and drag issues there's a couple tips to help you through that one. Well, now that I have that installed, I will close this out, and I'm going to try again. Okay, out here in the physical tab, I'm going to try to get my straight through cable. Click on here, and I now see a fast Ethernet port that I can plug into. That's my NIC, and that I will plug into the second jack up here. And hopefully you remember earlier we patched all four of those in. Okay, if I click on the closet, all four of those ports there are plugged into the switch. So I'm going to back out. This now should have, it has a network card in. I have it cabled in, so I'm getting a link light. So I know my layer 1 is good. With the NIC in now, we should hopefully have a good layer 2. So I'm going to go back out to my logical tab right here, logical tab. And I'm going to see there's my Harrisburg PC, and I do have a green link light. So we know the layer 1 is good for that PC now. We're now going to look at the layer 2. So I'm going to go to the desktop of this guy and open a command prompt. So I'm going to click on the Harrisburg PC. Right here is a couple options. We did the physical to add the network card in. There it is. I'm going to go to the desktop, and this kind of reminds you of like an old, like Windows 95 desktop kind of thing. But I'm going to click on the command prompt right here. A lot of what we do in networking, we do a lot of command prompt stuff, a lot of commands there to see how things are working, or if they're working, or if there's connectivity. So I open the command prompt, and I'm going to issue the command here, ipconfig /all. Now, when we start doing commands, slow down, watch your typing, watch for typos. I don't know, maybe 9 out of 10 times, if the command's not working right, it's something in the syntax, something in the typing. It might be a typo. It happens to Mr. Brown. You watch enough podcasts from me, you will see plenty of typos. So what I usually do is just try to reissue the command and make sure I have spelled everything correctly. So I'm going to issue the ipconfig /all command. And what that's going to do is show all the IP configuration, including the MAC addresses, which I really want to see. So when I do ipconfig all, this will show, here's the Bluetooth connection for my PC. Down here's the Ethernet connection. I'm going to use the space bar to see more. This was the Bluetooth. I'm not really interested in that, but I am interested in this fast Ethernet connection. That's the network card we just added. And what I'll see in here is that MAC address. Whoop, whoop. Okay, that is the MAC address for this computer. That is the MAC address that was burnt into that net card we installed. Now, it is possible that when you installed yours, your number is going to look different than mine. That's okay. That's okay. That is specified on the network card. So if you look at 12 computers in a lab room, they will all have different MAC addresses. So if yours is different than mine, that is A-okay. Some people worry about numbers being identical to what I'm doing in the lab. This is one time it does not need to match. It is A-okay. Well, we're now going to gather proof that I have the network layer, the OSI layer 2 up and running in our network. So what I'm going to do is I use text files, text editors, or there's a notepad depending on your computer. I have a link to my notepad here on the bottom of my start bar, but I'll just come over here and do notepad and show you if you're using a Windows computer, that is installed on there. If you're on an Apple computer, you can use text editor. I like to use these because they are very small files and they're very basic. They do not have a lot of config in them, and you pretty much can open them on any computer, and D2L understands it. If you need to use Word, you can, but that adds all kinds of extra formatting, and sometimes the files get large. So this is usually the easiest way to go. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to put up here at the top CNT120, Chap1Lab, and that is mainly for my memory. You don't really need to put your name in, but you can. So actually, I will come in here and type in Mr. Brown. You can put your name in. And then I did not need to record anything for layer 1, so I'm going to put a note here for myself, layer 2, and this is the MAC address we are looking at on my computer. And before I gather those results, actually, let's do this. I'm going to save my file, excuse me, save as. I'm going to leave it a text file, .txt, I'll leave that alone. But I'm going to point to that folder I created at the beginning of the lab. I'll go to my documents, my 120 class, and I have this Chap1Lab. I will put that in there, and I will call it something like CNT120, Chap1Lab, and I will leave the extension of .txt alone. Okay, so there's my CNT120 Chap1Lab, and I will save. That'll go to that folder. And now I can start adding data to it and just kind of save as I go. So the first thing we're going to add here is the results of that command. I want to gather the results of that command. And really, I don't want the Bluetooth stuff. I just want this down here. So I'm going to highlight and copy this, the main thing being the MAC address right there that we looked at. And I'm going to I can do a right click and copy. That's probably the easiest way to do this. Sometimes the Control C works or Command C works. I will come over here to my notepad file and I'll right click paste, or I can sometimes even do, let me see if my Control V works as well. It does, Control V. Now just make sure that's what I copied in. So I'm going to quick look over here and go, yeah, that's 162. Okay, good. All right. To make sure I have the right thing and I didn't copy paste the wrong thing. And then I will just resave my file, do a file save, so I'm saving that updated info. And now we have proof of looking at layer 2, the MAC address right there. Boop. Okay. So there is layer 2 on my network. My MAC address coming from the network card I installed in my computer. We'll come back in the next podcast for layer 3.